I'm Kate.
I'm Ebong.
And I'm Sonya.
And today we're dishing with you from the brand new LITESTARS, located at 2101 L Street Northwest. This place is a healthy alternative to fast food, and now through November 21st, they're offering a grand opening special of 20% off all menu items.
And maybe the more that you eat here, you will lose 20% off. Do you get it?
Likely.
I'm all about like weight loss today.
She's on a roll today.
Sort of stuck in my head. Well, our guest today is Marcy Fritter. She is part of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Crohn's is a disease that many people don't know about. I actually have a couple of friends who have Crohn's disease, or the family members do. But tell us what Crohn's is, and is colitis a separate thing?
They're very similar. Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis are autoimmune diseases, digestive diseases. So they basically affect anywhere from where the food goes in to where it goes out.
Even if it's healthy food?
Even if it's healthy food. Sometimes healthy food, lettuce, can be even harder on the system than
something as simple as
fiber. Fiber affects the digestive tract.
And is this something that you have from birth, or something that you develop as you age?
Normally it develops later on. There is some a genetic component, but then there's usually an environmental trigger, and it could be anything. In the past, the normal age of diagnosis was like 18 to 40, more prevalent in women, but we're seeing a lot more young people diagnosed, including children, babies. So
it's going to be tough for babies with a digestive thing.
Yeah.
You don't know really what's even going on yet.
Yeah, and they can't talk, and it's really hard.
And how does the foundation help people who suffer from it, as well as those who love the ones that are suffering from it?
Well, we actually have a two-part mission. The first part of our mission is to find a cure. So we do a lot of fundraising. We have funded $150 million since the organization's inception. We usually fund 100 to 120 grants annually. And then the other side of our mission is providing support for the patients and the caregivers. And that's, we have a camp for children, ages 7 to 17, and everyone who goes to the camp has Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. The counselors are usually either former campers or family members of campers, and our own medical staff who are familiar with the diseases. We have support groups. We do complimentary patient education programs throughout the area. We have a toll-free information resource center that also has translation services, and I think that's everything.
That's a lot.
There's a lot that we do.
Well, have there been any? I mean, we were talking about kind of movements in the medical field toward helping find a cure for this. Have there been any steps toward kind of? Are there any medications that can be taken? Or is there any movement in that direction that we've seen so far?
There are a lot of medications. They all unfortunately come with their own set of side effects. But one of the things that has come out of CCFA funded research is a drug that is actually an IV. So someone would go every 6 to 8 weeks and get their IV, and then they don't have to take the medication in between.
Well, tell us some of those medications, because I mean, so the idea of taking a pill a day is like, well, that's not so bad, but it's like 40 pills sometimes a day?
Some people who are on medication actually take up to 40, 50 pills a day. Immunosuppressants, pain medication, there's all kinds of different types of drugs. If somebody is flaring, they oftentimes in the past have taken steroids. So then you have the side effects of the moon phase. In children, it's a concern because of growth issues. And the medications, not one medication works for everybody, because the symptoms are so varied that it's finding the right combination of medications, and sometimes they lose their effectiveness, so you're kind of always in transition and finding the right fit.
I've seen actually commercials about colitis and Crohn's disease, and there's actually a famous hockey player who's been dealing with this, and there's this big commercial campaign talking about it. I can only imagine how it affects him being able to play and earn his living, because he's dealing with something that is probably not comfortable sharing with other people.
Right.
Do you see that with some of the people?
Well, it's a disease that people don't talk about, and we really want them to talk about. We have a fundraising walk that we do. We do 100 locations organizations nationwide. But our tagline is "Take steps and be heard," because we want people to start talking about it. So people like Mr. Pisano and David Garrard, football quarterback, Devin McTavish, who plays here locally for the DC United, Rolf Bernishke, who is a former kicker for the Chargers.
Wow.
So when we can get these folks to open up and share their stories, it kind of gives other patients confidence to start talking about it.
Well, obviously you're diagnosed by a medical professional, but what if somebody watching may think, well, I have trouble digesting things, maybe I have Crohn's disease. Like, what would it feel like?
Well, again, it's very different for every person. It usually involves a lot of pain. You might have blockages, so you're not going, or you might have diarrhea.
All that fun stuff that people love to talk about.
Yeah, bleeding. Some people, vomit. It's a really wide variety, and it's like a combination of test results, and it really can only be finally diagnosed with like a colonoscopy and different tests that way.
Have you seen this being indigenous to certain races, or you said women initially, but how about races and maybe ages and stuff like that?
Well, traditionally it was thought to be an Eastern European Jewish disease. That is very much not the case. African American, Caucasian, Jewish, non-Jewish, you really see it in all cultures and backgrounds and races at this point. And there's actually studies going on right now looking at specifically the African American population, and because we really think that the prevalence is probably higher there, but it's not necessarily being diagnosed, and they aren't getting the right treatment.
Well, how can people in DC, whether they have Crohn's and colitis or not, how can they get involved?
Well, our local chapter website is dc.ccfa.org. That has links to our national website and all of our resources, but that's where you're going to find the most up-to-date information on upcoming patient education programs, our Take Steps Walk, our Team Challenge Half Marathon and fundraising program. So that's exciting, and then other special events that we have.
Fantastic. Well, Marcy, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Certainly taught us some things, and we'll have to check more into that and see if we can help you out in any way. And if you would like to help the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, she's just told you how. Make sure to check that out, and as always, make sure to check us out here on the next episode of The District Dish.